Everybody, and welcome. Really appreciate you joining us tonight. I'm Steve Bristol. I'm the associate head of school at Hun and run the admissions office and have been your host for these sort of every 2 weeks events, and really excited tonight. We have a fantastic crowd. Before each of these events, I try to look through the list of registrations just to get an idea of where everyone's coming from. And it just always amazes me to see that we have people from all over the world on tonight. And I appreciate those of you that are either getting up early in the morning for this or staying up really late at night to join us. Tonight's a fun webinar in that I've invited a series of Hun parents to come and talk to you about their experience here and what drew them to Hun, what makes them stay here, what's happening with their kids. It has been an exciting year already for us. As you saw in the video, we are celebrating 50 years of Girls and Women at Hun. Really appropriate today, as those of us on the panel were chatting earlier, in that our girls varsity soccer team today just won the state championship for the Prep A division in an overtime game. So it is most definitely the year of Girls and Women at Hun. It's been a really exciting fall already, and we're thrilled for those girls. The entire school was out there watching. We let kids out of class early today so that they could all go and cheer on the team, and it was worth every minute of it. So we're really excited. We're thrilled to have you with us tonight. As I said, I've brought together an illustrious panel of parents for you. As I was putting the panel together, I realized I've hit almost every possible demographic. I've got upper school, middle school, boys, girls, athletes, artists. I've got a little bit of everything covered tonight. And what we're going to do is I'm going to invite each of the parents to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their Hun experience, their child's or children in a couple of cases, experience at Hun, what drew them here, the admissions process that they went through, any comments that they want to make about their experience thus far. And then we're going to turn it over to you. And as always, I'm really interested in hearing questions from families and doing whatever we can to help you understand us. I appreciate that the admissions process tends to focus really heavily on me learning about you. It's just as important that all of you learn as much about us as you possibly can. And we're hoping that these webinars and some of the live events we're going to offer will help do that. So without further ado, as they say, I'm going to turn it over to our parents. And first, I'm going to start with Carrie Candell, who's the mother of Samantha, an 11th grader. In addition, Carrie's also the president of our Parents Association. So Carrie.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everybody. I'm excited to be on this tonight. Excited to have so many people joining. My son, Zachary, actually graduated from Hun this past June. So he is a freshman at Penn State studying biology and chemistry. And my daughter, Samantha, like Steve said, is currently a junior. And do you want me, how long you want me to do here?
A couple of minutes on kind of what drew you to Hun and what you really love about it.
Fantastic. So just quickly, we were new to private school. My husband and I did not grow up going, none of our kids' friends, but we decided we're in an area where there are so many that we would just start looking. So we looked at the area schools, Pennington, Petty, Hun were the three that we looked at. And my son fell in love with Hun. He immediately connected. He didn't know anyone. He immediately connected with kids there. There's just a feeling about Hun. It is so welcoming. It is so friendly. And we didn't get that anywhere else. And so he applied. He was lucky to get in. We were thrilled. And then 2 years later, when it was time for my daughter to apply, we wanted to go the same route, look at all the different schools. And she said, nope, she only wanted to be at Hun. She knew how much we loved it. She knew how much her brother loved it. And they have both, and my kids are very different. So, I wasn't sure it was a one size fits all, but they have both thrived at Hun. Just the friends that they've made, the interest that they've, taken an interest in, the athletics, the academics, the trips that they've gone on, both completely different kids and totally thriving at Hun. And I'm thrilled for my son, who's a young college freshman, that he's just thriving at school. And I contributed to what he's learned, the skills that he's learned at Hunt, not just academics, but the social skills and engaging with teachers and being so close with the staff and having mentors and surrounding himself with good people. So he immediately went to Penn State, which is such a huge campus, and has done the same thing, surrounded himself with good people. And I really owe that to Hun. So we've had a really good experience.
That's awesome. Thank you. Next, I'm going to head north of the border to Jerry and Sue Moreno, who are in Ontario, Canada, and their son, Brendan, is a new 11th grader this year. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hello, hey everybody. So he's actually in 10th grade. Brendan's in 10th grade. Basically, we got interested in the Hun, or we drew a real interest in the Hun after Brendan had looked online at a bunch of different schools in the US because he wanted to go down there to take schooling and also to play sports. And one of the things that drew us right away was the professionalism and the courtesy and everything that Mr. Bristol displayed right away. Sorry to toot your horn, but we're going. Every time Brendan had a question about something or we had a question, he'd say, we'll just email Mr. Bristol, and they were answered right away. Some of the other things that we made a few notes just to prepare for this as well. Some of the other things that is Mr. Bristol said is that Brendan will be cared for because we had a lot of concern because we're about 800 kilometers away, or in miles, that's 497 miles away. So it's a long ways away for our grade 10 son to be away when he's never been away from home. So they have delivered and then some on that. We actually were wondering whether Brendan was even with us anymore because he barely talked to us. He barely text us or communicate. So we knew he was having fun, and that's a good thing for us. Those are some of the things.
I take it a little personally, but it's okay. But no, he's having a good time and certainly super busy. Just to add to Jerry's thoughts, when I started to Google the Hun, because Brendan, that's where he was focused, I very much appreciated all the cultural competency in the language, the use of preferred pronouns, and it means a lot to us that he's growing up in this environment of inclusivity, and that's been very nice. It's everywhere, even in the spirit where you offer, and you offer resources for parents to make us more aware of all that. And the daily meetings that Brendan has with his academic advisor have been invaluable. And although I wasn't allowed to bring Brendan down to school, I actually got kicked out at the border because I could fly over your border, but non-essentially only one parent could drive over the border. Anyway, so I had to get out of the car bawling, but we did fly down for Parents Weekend. So just the pictures of your school are so beautiful, but they don't do it justice. I'm standing on campus and it's like our kid lives in a movie. It's just a movie set. It's just beautiful. So that's been nice. But we got to meet his academic advisor, and I understand why he adores her. She had so much energy and warmth, and as a mom to know that she's meeting with him every day and checking in on his well-being, and just all of that's been important. I'm a nurse, so as a nurse, I have appreciated the Hun's adherence to New Jersey state law and CDC guidelines around COVID-19. And their vaccine policy has been much appreciated, and just making us feel Brendan is as safe and comfortable as he can be. Okay. And like, I was worried he would just be sports, but he certainly, we're so proud of his marks, and and the one-to-one support available. So as soon as Brendan identified he maybe was struggling a little bit in math, he was able to right away get support and help, and he's been doing really well. So, but he has to work at it, but anyway, okay, sorry.
Excellent support.
Yeah.
That's great. It's funny. Brendan's one of those admissions cases that I'll always remember because he did it the right way. When he had a question, he emailed me. And, I say that to kids all the time in the process, but I think they're nervous and they don't want to bother me and things like that. He and I had a running conversation throughout the entire admissions process. It was fantastic. And it's, selfishly, this is the way I want kids to approach it, is to feel comfortable reaching out to us. So to the families listening, please don't hesitate to ask questions when you have them. We like talking to the kids. We like talking to you as parents. It's an important part of the process as we all get to know each other. Next in my schedule tonight is Jennifer Haley. Jennifer's the mom of 2 Hun students, a 7th grader and a 10th grader. So she's got a little taste in both worlds of middle school and upper school. And so Jen, can I throw it to you?
Yes. Good evening. So I'm Jennifer. I have Madison, she's in 7th grade, and Morgan is in 10th grade. We started at Hun 3 years ago when Morgan was in 8th grade. So we came in 8th grade because Morgan, so my children never went to regular public school. They were in charter school, and it started out great. But then as the work got harder and they progressed through the years, I noticed that they're just throwing information at them, and they weren't really engaging and they weren't really teaching. And Morgan started to slip away, and there was no balance. So I was looking for somewhere where life would be a little bit more balanced. I wanted her to have fun. I wanted her to learn. I wanted her to be engaged. When she came to Hun, from the time she stepped on the campus for her interview and her visit day, she fell in love, and I fell in love. And then my husband fell in love. And when Morgan enrolled, her sister came to a couple of events. And when it was time for her, she was in 5th grade. When it was time for her to apply, I said, okay, are we going to go visit all the other schools like we did for Morgan? She said, no, only Hun and Madison. They're both thriving. This year, actually, Morgan has a little bit of a hump to get over. I'll say that the support is superb. Morgan picked a really challenging schedule. Everything is honors, and she signed up for like 20 clubs. So right. So her advisor is working with her, and this year's skill that she's learning that's not academic is time management and just how to pick the activities that she needs and the support. Today, I had multiple phone calls and touches with her advisor, with counselors, with the grade level dean. And we're tweaking her classes, and just the support that we're getting, I don't think I could get that anywhere else. And I'm very grateful to Hun. We actually are in the process of moving, and I would not pull my children out of Hun. So I'm working possibly next year we'll board. We feel that Hun is home. Hun is our extended family, and just really comfortable with the staff there and really happy with the results that we're getting. They've exceeded our expectations, academically, socially, in every single way. And they're just happy kids. They're learning. I don't have to wake Madison up. She's up. I get up at 5:30. She's already in the bathroom getting dressed. She's like ready to go. She gets up. They do their work. I have no complaints. They're very independent. They teach independence. And I'm happy. They're happy. It's the best decision that we could have made. I don't know what else to say.
No, I think you're underselling the girls, if anything. They are amazing, amazing young ladies. And Morgan is one of those that sort of sees Hun, as I say it to a lot of kids, it's like a buffet. Come and try a little bit of everything. And she's doing it all. And one of those kids that we now have to kind of protect her from herself because she can't contain herself. And that's part of that, as you said, part of the learning process is saying, all right, what is a full plate and how do I do my best work at as many things as I can? So last but not least, Mr. John Stowe, another parent of 2, both middle schooler and upper schooler. And John?
Thank you, Steve. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see all the parent faces as well. Yeah, I could talk for an hour, but I'm going to keep this to 5 minutes. I'm going to do the best I can. I've got two at Hun. I have an 11th grader, Charlie Stowe. This is his third year at Hun. He is, talk about a smorgasbord of activities and things to do. He is probably too busy, but he rows crew. He dabbles in theater. He's got both this weekend, which should be exciting. And, he's busy. Junior year is very busy. He's got a couple AP classes, and I'm always a little nervous that he's overscheduled. But just as Jennifer said, these kids, and I have a daughter I'll talk about in a second, they get up before me. They're ready to go, which is astonishing to me. My parents had to rip me out of bed. And they're ready to go. They're excited to go to Hun every single day. And then I have Emma. It's also her third year, but she's only in 8th grade. She started in 6th grade. She does all the middle school sports, soccer, basketball, and lacrosse. And she does something called Hun TV, where they do a segment each week and post it. She and Charlie both are tour guides as well. So they're really involved, and they really love it. And I think I told Steve earlier, I've got a third one who's 12. He's going to be on your campus tomorrow for a tour and an interview. And he's actually very unlike the first two. He's a little more shy and reserved, and I'm excited to see what he thinks about hunting. It was his idea. I wasn't even, he had to come to us, and he didn't do it last year, and he came to us this year, and he's going to take a peek. How did we come to Hun? Well, basically, it was Charlie. He was leading the show. Emma, we were even thinking about Hun at the time. And he interviewed at the 4 local private schools. And it was really, we're going to leave that decision completely to him. And I can say that it was the tour. It was Mr. Bristol, as the polite folks from north of the border call him. But it was Steve. Steve's interview was very important to Charlie. And then afterwards, Steve just handed him off to a couple other faculty members who continued to give him this tour. And literally, as he shut the door, he was just like, "Yeah, I'm coming here." I was like, "Well, you got to get in first." But that's exciting that you're. He just loved the campus feel. I've told him about Harkness. I went to a Harkness school, and he's a Harkness kid. He loves to participate in class, and it's right up his alley. So it was a perfect fit. And then and Emma just kind of followed suit, and she's taking advantage of it like you couldn't believe. So that's pretty much it. Well, I love it. I love the morning advisory, as we've talked about. I think it's really important, especially for Charlie, my oldest. He's a little distracted, and he can get a little, he's not great at doing his homework, but the advisory, they really get him in line and keep him focused and with his eye on the prize. And I can't say enough about the teachers and the administrators. I've gotten to know a lot of them. Even it's been hard because of COVID. The last year and a half, I haven't really been allowed, on campus to talk and meet with everybody that I want to. But we're reintegrating, if you will, post COVID, and this year feels like it did the first year. Last year was a wash, I think. But this is really, it's great. I was at the soccer game today, and to see thousands of people out there. My daughter, although she's in middle school, she was a ball girl, and she was participating. She loves soccer, and the whole scene was epic. That's enough for me.
Thanks. I'm getting some good press here. I probably need to rethink how I do this, or at least go get a raise.
I'll give you my Venmo account.
So to the audience, what I'd love to do is, thank all of you first. That was awesome. And to the audience, I want to invite you to ask some questions now. And to do that, we're going to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. If you just click on that and type your questions in, I'll grab them and throw them to the panel. And we'll just do this for as long as you have questions, and as long as people can stay before you start getting hungry for dinner and things like that. But to open it, let me put one question out there while the audience is thinking of some stuff, because invariably this will come up. What was the biggest surprise, either good or bad, that you found in coming to Hunt? And anyone has anything that sort of jumps to mind immediately, chime right in. If was there something that you didn't expect that suddenly presented itself?
One of the things that I didn't realize, Steve, is, and I'll just focus on the middle school here real quick, is they're, it's separated almost completely from the high school. They got their own little building down the hill, and they are really focused on getting these kids ready for high school, and to with the public speaking and the work that they do to get these kids out of their shell that they might be in, and get them prepared for high school. I'll just a very proud moment for me. As you guys watched that introduction, there was a girl in the blue dress. That was my daughter at the Hun convocation, and she spoke for 2 minutes in front of 700 people. She was the one that said, "The community has my back." And I tell you, that's not the 6th grade girl that I knew. And here we are a couple of years later, and she's speaking in front of a large group. It was remarkable and terrifying all at the same. And I'm just really impressed at the way they get these middle school kids ready for high school. And it's just a great thing.
Awesome. All right, I'm getting a flurry of questions, which is great. I do want to remind folks, use the Q&A button rather than the chat. The chat ones just come up and it's a little chaotic, and I have a hard time pulling the questions out. But if you use that Q&A button, then I can track them as we go along and make sure we get to everybody. So starting at the top, this one, Jerry, Sue, this is for you, I think. I know the answer. How often do boarding students visit home?
His first visit's coming up on the 21st for the Thanksgiving break. But for us, with the border restrictions, it's been very difficult. I've snuck down there a couple times, but it's very difficult to bring him back and then drive back, and COVID testing. But hopefully starting on the 4th, no, 20, we're not sure.
Monday,
Monday,
your land border opens, but I don't think he wants to come home.
He likes it there.
Actually started preparing me in September that he might have a hockey tournament for your Thanksgiving break, and then he started preparing me that he might have a lacrosse tournament over Christmas. So yeah, he's trying to again, not taking it personal, but I think the best way to answer that would be like how close you live. But also your breaks are your Thanksgiving week, 2 weeks at Christmas, and then 2 weeks beginning of March, right?
Yep.
Would be the best opportunities for us. But
Yeah,
we're kind of enjoying, our older 2 kids are doing post-secondary, so we're like gonna have some little trips down there. And and when we did get to stay in Princeton, it's so beautiful.
Amazing.
And the downtown and the Princeton campus. Okay, sorry.
But anyway, Mr. Bristol, thanks for having Brendan over Thanksgiving if he doesn't come home.
yeah, I got plenty of food for him. Now, and I think Sue's answer is right. A lot of it depends on how convenient it is for kids to go home. They can go home weekends if they want to. Most kids choose not to, because this is where their friends are, and this is where the action is, so to speak. But they are able to go home on the weekends if they need a break and want to go catch their breath a little bit and sleep in their own bed and vegetate on the couch for a little while and get some home cooked food. I think that recharge works for a lot of kids. How does academic advisory work? How many students to an advisor? How often do they meet? Carrie, can I throw this to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So they have advisory is it every day? It's built into so it's every day, it's built into their schedule. And just to go off a little bit, kind of what John was saying, when my son started as a freshman in high school, we had no experience with private schools. So he didn't know anybody. So he immediately became friends with that advisory group. It was such a great way. They got assigned their advisor. I think he had about 7 kids in his advisory. So I'd say maybe 7 to 10 in the advisory, and the advisory is built into their schedule. They meet every day just to touch base. And the really nice thing was, over COVID, when we were on Zoom, they used it as a homeroom, a way to check in, kind of, and even when we were hybrid, so it's a really close knit group. And those were my son's first high school friends. So they do meet with the advisor one-on-one, but they have this advisory group just to kind of touch base. Someone's checking in on them, making sure they're okay, making sure they're on track, making sure there's nothing that they need. So yeah, the way the advisory program is set up at Hunt is fantastic.
Great.
Did that answer? Yeah.
Yep, that's perfect. I think this one's going to end up in my lap. Does Hunt anticipate having next term fully operational this year? First, a quick explanation. Next term is a mini semester that we do at the end of the school year. And so kids' traditional classes will end first, second week of May, and then they're going to take one class that's kind of intensive and interdisciplinary and experiential. Everything from studying roller coasters to national parks to walking in MLK's footsteps to traveling to Ghana to we've got 25 different classes that the kids can choose from that they'll do for 3 weeks. And almost all of them involve travel and certainly getting off campus at least a little bit, but most for multiple days. Got a little cut off by COVID last year. Well, 2 years ago, we couldn't do it at all. Last year, we did a modified version where instead of 3 weeks, we dropped it down to 2 weeks and kind of kept the kids a little more local just to be cautious. As of right now, we are full steam ahead for this spring. As with everything, I think we're all kind of watching what happens and preparing to adjust on the fly if we have to. But right now we are looking to go and are really, really excited about it. Little bit about college advisory program. Carrie, I think you're the only one that's been through it yet.
I was just going to say, we just went through it. So if you don't mind hearing from me again.
No.
So my son graduated in June, and I cannot say enough about the college advisory program. Radha Mishra, who runs the program, is fantastic. She is the warmest, kindest woman ever. There are information sessions starting in freshman year. There are information sessions for 9th and 10th graders. There's information sessions for 11th graders. So an abundance of information is available to you if you want it. I was a little hesitant, so we kind of we weren't interested in 9th and 10th grade, but then of course, come junior year, I was like, oh my God, we need to do this, and so we, junior year, they pair your child up with an advisor. So actually my daughter I don't know if John, if your son Charlie, I think they got them this week.
Yeah, I believe their first meeting is next week.
Yeah,
so. And then the
so
parents, then they loop us in
Yes.
in maybe 3 weeks or something like that. Yeah.
So it's all optional. There's plenty of information there if you want it as a freshman parent, as a sophomore parent, and then come junior year, it really, they get their advisor. And I can't say enough good things. It was so organized. It was so well thought out. And the most important thing I think that they did for us was keep my son on a schedule. She had check-ins. I want this done by this day. I want this done by that day. And, she held him accountable. She checked in with him every few days. Nothing fell by the wayside. Nothing got missed. It was a really easy process. And especially we were doing it during COVID. So we weren't doing college tours. His sports were not really playing out the way that we thought they were. The testing was a disaster. The APs were a disaster because they were all online. So I have to really kudos to the college, to the counseling department. It's fantastic. And like I said, the biggest thing for me is there's as much information available as you need, but they're very, they will guide you as much as you need them to.
Yeah, and I actually can add to this, having 3 children go through this process. All 3 of my kids are now Hun alums, and they all had different college counselors and very different ambitions and very different passions. And they were, the school adjusted to each of them individually in a really neat way. And Carrie's right. They're relentless about chasing these kids down to get the paperwork in on time and all of the I's dotted and T's crossed. It's hysterical. The college counselor for my youngest son still checks in with me on him, and she'll say things like, how's the boy doing? And because she just referred to him as the boy for a long time. And he loves her. He still texts her and they still chat. And he's been out for 2 years now. Balance between art and athletics, and specifically some information about the arts programs. Anybody? John, I know Charlie's done theater.
Yeah, he did the freshman musical, his winter freshman year. And then about 3 weeks ago, Mr. Escher, the head of the theater department and teacher, said, hey, is there a chance he can do a part in the fall play? And Charlie was, he's really into crew, and it's pretty demanding. And they figured it out, and they're working around Charlie's schedule. He's doing the practices when he can do it, and he's got 3 performances this weekend because his crew race isn't until Sunday. I mean, he's got probably the busiest weekend in the history of weekends. But Mr. Escher is incredible. And although the middle schoolers can't participate in the plays and musicals, at least to my knowledge, Emma loves him as well because he's her theater teacher in middle school. So the theater program, and by the way, Steve, I guess everybody on the call may or may not know, but the brand new theater was built, and this will be the first production in the new, I don't know, maybe 300 seat theater, which is alongside the new Science Center, which I haven't even seen. I'm actually going on the tour tomorrow with my youngest son, William, just so I can go take a sneak peek of the new facilities. But I can't speak so much to the music department and the arts department because we're more of a theater gang, but the theater department is second to none, and Mr. Escher is the best.
Yeah. Anybody else with some arts thoughts?
Just a quick thought from the parents board. We revitalized the Spotlight Parent Committee, which is a committee of parents that oversees and facilitates and helps the arts. So it kind of fell by the wayside, it sounds like, maybe in the last year or two, but it's rejuvenated, and I've been hearing such fantastic feedback. The interest in the new theater as far as music, dance, and theater is concerned, it's really, really thriving right now, from the mom who sits on our board, who's part of Spotlight Committee. It just sounds like it's thriving. And they just had this Halloween concert, and she said the amount of people that showed up, it was standing room only, the donations that poured in from parents to support the musicians and the kids for snacks afterwards. It sounds like it was a really fantastic weekend.
Yeah, the new theater has been, holy cow, it's gorgeous. It is just gorgeous. And just seeing how excited the kids are, how excited the adults are to have this space has been pretty exciting. Is there an open door policy between teachers and parents to stay abreast of their child's progress? Jen, how you were talking earlier about sort of the conversations you're having with some of Morgan's teachers. Can you jump on this one?
Yeah, sure. It's open door. It's any time of day or night. You can email the teacher. Some of them, I can call the teachers, and they're very helpful. From a question to regarding a test or a quiz to final grade, like, they're very helpful. And if you think your child needs extra help, I mean, we kind of shoot for the child to be their advocate. So I don't really get involved too much. What I did recently, just because Morgan took on a little bit too much, so I have to try to step in. But in general, Morgan will send her emails to the teacher, and she will request to meet with them. And I'll see the email thread, and they'll say, okay, come in the morning and we'll chat about this. She'll go in early and tell me I need to drop her a little early, or they'll go late. There's extra help in the morning and extra help in the evening, or they can schedule something throughout the day. But the door is always open for everyone, from their advisor to the individual teachers to the counselors. There's a ton of help.
Awesome. Next one for Jerry and Sue. Can you talk a little bit about the boarding experience, what that's been like for Brendan? It's new for him. How's it been?
Go ahead.
Well, honestly, we wish he would talk to us a little more if he already haven't heard us say that. So, but he just seems so busy and happy. And I guess one of the surprising things for us was usually around Friday morning, we get an itinerary of all the programs being offered on the weekend. So we pretty much always know he's going to the open gym and
All the activities.
yeah, but it's great that there are opportunities when maybe when the weather gets colder and he'll want to do more than just play in the gym. But there's all kinds of different activities for them to do as well. And sorry, really quick about the with the teachers, we are looking forward to parent-teacher Zoom conferences soon, but we actually haven't spoke with any of his teachers because we're signed up. Is it Canvas? So pretty much every time Brendan submits an assignment or a mark, I'm at work and I'm trying not to be obvious about checking his marks, and we get notification of that, and so that's been so reassuring. And we can see teacher comments, and sometimes we can read his paper and already see that he's doing better with periods and capitals and such. Sorry, I'm just kidding. He's bright. But anyway, so that's just a thought too on the that helps with that.
Awesome. John, you mentioned Harkness a little earlier. Can you explain that a little bit?
I mean, you'll do a lot better job than I will, but as far as I'm concerned, Harkness means one thing. It means participation. It allows for the students, and it's not in all the classes, doesn't make sense in some of the science classes with labs and such like that. But the humanities classes and the English classes in particular, the Harkness, one of the fundamental parts of the Harkness is it's literally a round, giant, large round table. And everybody sits around the table, including the professor, and they're all looking at each other. Now you can't be in the back row. There's no such thing. You are in it, and you sink or swim. And so it's a heavy participatory, healthy discussion about the subject matter at hand. And I think it's really the only way schools should be taught, particularly when we're reviewing papers and books and having real debates and conversations about historical topics and that kind of thing. And Steve, you wrap it up in a bow, because I'm sure I missed a couple of things, but I think it's the best.
Yeah, no, you hit it beautifully. It's a discussion. But it's an organized discussion where the kids understand that part of their role isn't just to have the right answer, but it's to help the group explore an issue, explore an idea, to prompt ideas for others, to learn how not to dominate a conversation, but also learn how to participate in one. I think for a lot of kids who come into their first Harkness class, there's a little culture shock. Their first reaction is, where is everybody? And then they realize this is everybody, and it's a class of 14, and they're all sitting around the table. And so there's no, as John said, there's no hiding in the back row. And I mean, I would have been terrible at this, and I'm that guy. But it is, what happens is the kids slowly find their voice, and they find it because they feel, they come into the room uncomfortable, but then they watch their peers start to come out of themselves, and they'll explore something. And all of a sudden you build up the confidence to kind of throw in an idea, and you're sort of like, hey, that was okay. Nobody laughed at me. Nobody did anything. And so then you do it again, and then you do it again. And before you know it, you're in that flow. And at that point, the momentum takes over. And if you'd ask the kids today, they would say they'd never go back to a different kind of classroom, that this is the only way they want to learn, because it's more fun and it's more engaging, and they're more involved in the process, and they're not just sitting back absorbing information. So it is, it's fantastic. It's fun to watch when it's done really, really well. And we have a couple of videos on the website that I'll make those links available to people where you can kind of see it in action. It's pretty neat. couple that look like they're for me. Yes, you can schedule an interview before you filled out an application. We don't really mind what order things come in. And so if you want to visit and interview first and do the paperwork second, or the reverse, we're absolutely okay either way. Standardized testing. This is a hot topic this year, given some of the, and Carrie mentioned it with the SATs and ACTs, and it was the same disaster a year ago for the SSAT, which is the standardized test that we've typically asked kids to take for their application. The position we're taking this year is we are test flexible, if that which means we do need a standardized test of some kind, but it does not have to be the SSAT. If as a part of your child's school they administered a standardized test, either sponsored by the state or the ERBs or the ISEEs, there is an alphabet soup of standardized tests out there. Any questions, just give our office a call and we'll let you know if it's a test that we're okay with. But we're trying to give families as much flexibility as possible so that you aren't tied to trying to find a single SSAT test and test site and all of those things. So we're going to be pretty flexible there, and any questions, just give us a shout. How's the weather at Hunt?
Well, I'd love to know where that question came from, first of all.
I can't tell.
I'd like to say New Jersey's the new North Carolina with global warming, but I tell you, we've had a pretty good October, but it's started to get cool, and the leaves are probably pretty much full peak right now. Then they'll start dropping off. Winters are fairly mild, but springtime and fall are great in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's been pretty gorgeous. A quick question. Yes, our middle school open house is this coming Sunday, and the registration link is on the website. If you're not sure if you're registered, give our office a call and we'll check the list for you pretty quickly. Favorite thing about Hun, and what would you change if you could?
For us, our favorite thing about Hun is the inclusivity that is rampant throughout the school. Every event that takes place, you see all the students out there, you see the fun that they're having. The one thing that I would change is on arrival day for checking in, he was so engaged and had so much fun that I basically lost him. He was gone. I was 15 minutes there and did the tour with the rest of the parents, and he was gone, and I was like, okay, now what? But he was having so much, yeah, at least I got to go. But he was having so much fun that with all the students and the staff that, I was kind of left holding the bag and wondering, okay, now what? And anyway, if I could change anything, that just a little bit more time with him, that's it.
I would think the Morenos would want a hockey rink.
Good call.
Oh,
Yeah,
Steve,
that would be great.
let's get on that campaign and get him a hockey rink for his senior year.
Can I add one of my favorite things is the door holding in the morning. I just love that Hun really teaches respect and accountability, and you may not be friends with everybody, but you're going to be polite and kind and respectful because you're going to see them every morning and every afternoon. So Ryan Hughes, the head of the upper school, and actually Ken does it at the middle school as well, right? They are outside almost every morning and they hold the door for the kids in the morning. They say good morning and shake hands, and I maybe not shake hands anymore. But I love that little detail. And I've noticed our class president is now standing out there some mornings with Ryan as well. So it's just a really nice, your kids may be a little groggy, may not want, but then all of a sudden they go, good morning, Mr. Hughes, good morning, so it's really, and they really encourage, that good morning, good afternoon, holding door free. And they expect it that you do it for everyone else, that if you're leaving a building, you're holding the door for someone else. So I think that's a little known thing, but I love it. I really love it.
Yeah. Gabe Huang, who's the student body president, is become the junior Mr. Hughes out there in the morning.
I noticed in the last couple of weeks.
He definitely has a career in politics ahead of him, I think. He's been a fantastic student body president, and it's a hard job. and he has just thrown himself into it. It's fun and he's just having a great time. He's smiling all the time. It's great. Oh, here's a good one. How long are day students on campus each day? So when do your kids come home? Do they come home?
Huh, I'll take that one. So Morgan does the period X. So on Mondays, she's there from about 7:30 in the morning till about 8 p.m. But on other days, she's there from the 7:45 or 8 o'clock in the morning until about 5:30 because she's in the dance company, the Hun Dance Company. And then she comes home every day. The Madison, my middle schooler, she's there until 3:30 every day.
That's about the same. My middle schooler has usually sports after and maybe a club, and she technically can be picked up at 3:30, but she's always like, Dad, don't get me until 4:15. I've got to do X, Y, and Z. And sometimes I'm like calling BS on it, but most of the times we allow her to stay as long as she wants to stay. And then Charlie, the high schooler, he always has something going on, but he's got a lot of homework in junior year, so we try to get him back home by 5:30 or so, and that's pretty normal for the two of them.
And with that, I was joking with the family I interviewed today that I'm convinced some kids have 5 meals a day, that they have breakfast at home, then they come to school and grab a bagel or a muffin when they get to school, have lunch, finish sports, grab a quick dinner at school, go home and have another full dinner. It is, day students are welcome early. They're welcome to stay late. They're welcome back on the weekends and are typically there, a pretty healthy group on the weekends. One of the joys of, I think being a day student in a boarding school is that, we don't close, and, that your child will never be sitting on the front step waiting to get picked up while I'm turning the lights off and locking the doors. That just isn't the nature of our community. Kids are there all the time, getting extra help, working on projects with friends. It's not unusual for day students to switch to being boarders after a year or two. That's pretty common. They just realize it saves them time, that the commuting back and forth is just more of an inconvenience than anything else. I like this one. What was your biggest worry when you were deciding on a high school for your child?
For me, it was the being overscheduled, to not being able to. I went to a private school I was overscheduled, I thought, and I didn't have enough time to, do things that some kids might want to do outside of school. But I think Hun does a really good job. First of all, because if it's a private school, it seems like they're only in school about 100 days out of the year, but I know it's more than that. But they do a really good job at taking the student to the edge, pushing them and having them really commit to what they're doing, whether it be academics, extracurriculars, and then being like, okay, let's hit pause this week and have Spirit Week, where we just have fun and games and really take our foot off the pedal a little bit. And I don't know, it must be years of figuring out exactly when the student needs a little bit of a break, but you guys have it down to a science. So I was a little nervous, particularly, because my older kid does have trouble doing homework. I got worried that he was going to be overscheduled, and it turns out you guys pretty much have it down pat. So that my fears were quelled.
Anybody else?
I would say for us, one of our biggest fears was the distance. First of all, not knowing, how it was going to go, and then him getting there and seeing how much he actually loved it, knowing that we were getting very little communication back and forth with him. But basically, our biggest fear was not knowing whether he was going to want to stay with it. But as Mr. Stowe said, all the activities and all the things that they do in the school, all the sports that he does after school, the study hall that he has to do every night, it keeps him so busy. I don't think he has time to worry whether he likes it enough or not, but he loves it.
I think mine was, both my kids went cold turkey. They knew no one going, in both of their years. They knew of kids, a friend of a friend, or someone that they had maybe met at some, but neither of them had a friend going in. And so that was my biggest fear was, they both chose it, and was that, were they going to be comfortable? Were they going to make friends? And obviously, it's fantastic. The friends that they've made at Hunt.
I love sort of stories like that. And, because I ask kids in my interviews with them all the time, what do you worry about? And it is always, I don't know people and I have to make new friends. And my standard answer to them is changing schools is hard no matter when you do it. And I don't pretend that it's an easy thing for kids to do. It's really hard. And it's full of angst and worry. But on a relative scale, I think Hun is an easy place to be new. And it's because the kids are nice. It sounds sort of trite and simple, but in general terms, our kids are really nice. And as Carrie said, they hold doors and, they look you in the eye and they say hi when you walk past them on the paths. It's a nice community to come into, and they like new kids. They're all looking to, for more kids to be on their team, or more kids to be in the club that they're involved in, or more kids to be on stage with them. They see the value in kids who share interests, and they want them there. They're not competitive minded internally in any way at all. Couple for me here. Incoming students in the 9th grade, we'll probably have between 70 and 75 new students in the 9th grade each year. Our 8th grade typically has about 45 kids. And so when you put the two together, we'll be in the kind of 115, 120 range as a 9th grade class. But we treat them as if the entire class is new. The middle school kids don't have a lot of exposure to the high school building and the high school teachers. And so it is very much a new experience for them. And we really want to build a community out of that 9th grade class. So we're very intentional about mixing up the Hun 8th graders with the new 9th graders and really restarting them as a collective class and trying to build a 4-year foundation with all of them. Carrie, this one's teed up for you. How do parents get involved with Hun?
I'm the chair of the Parents Association, as Steve said. So we run pretty much like a typical PTA, PTO type organization. We have monthly board meetings, and we host events like an annual gala. We host a staff appreciation luncheon for the teachers. We do a special Valentine thing for the teachers. But we also have an upper school liaison and a middle school liaison. So they kind of work with the upper school and middle school on anything that they're planning. We love to support, as however we can, whether it's financially, whether it's parent volunteers, whether it's donations, things like that. So we're always looking for volunteers. There's last year, obviously not many opportunities, but this year we started out the year with a really fantastic homecoming weekend. We had food trucks, we had tons of parent volunteers, we had cornhole. It was a really great way for everyone to kind of get back on campus and see each other. Another thing is we have our development office is also a parent relation office. And we've got a couple of really fantastic people that work there whose whole job is outreach to the parents, connecting parents, finding volunteer opportunities for them. So that's a really fantastic kind of middleman between the school and the parents, and I adore them. I find myself going in to drop something off and end up staying there chatting away for an hour. But so there's always plenty of opportunities, and we do have a link and a page on the website how to volunteer.
And the timing of tonight's funny because Carrie and I were in these same seats about 24 hours ago for a parent board meeting. And I didn't realize we were going to be on back-to-back nights. And so I got a chance to see firsthand kind of the enthusiasm, the interest, how hard our parents work in support of us. I know we have a faculty appreciation luncheon coming up, which is without question my favorite day of the year. I gain about 10 pounds, but it's fantastic. how diverse is Hun?
Oh, I would think you would know the numbers better than we would, but it seems
Yeah.
pretty diverse to me. I don't know the numbers though.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers either, but it's pretty diverse. The high school more so than the middle school, but it's pretty diverse.
We had henna tattooing today at the soccer game for Diwali, which I think is fantastic. I think that was really awesome that they ended up moving the henna tattoo artist down to where everybody was at the game. And I thought that was
I
fantastic.
saw that. That was cool.
Yeah.
It is. I'll be honest, I don't know the raw numbers either. I sort of evaluate us and not by counting heads and backgrounds and things like that. It is, we have kids from every possible background, I think. Every, almost 30 countries, colors, religions, cultures. It is all part of our community, and there is a very intentional commitment to that cultural diversity. We have some outstanding faculty leaders there. We have really great student leaders that are involved in what we call the Cultural Competency Committee. I would say it is the most active organization on the school's campus. They will do a webinar just highlighting their work in December. And that one for me is always my favorite because the kids are just so impressive when they talk about their experiences, the way in which they engage with each other, the respect that they have for each other, the support that they're providing for each other, their commitment to making sure everybody feels like they belong. These are all, for private schools, these are all challenging issues, and we're far from perfect there. But boy, the dedication, the commitment, again, the community feel behind issues of difference, no matter how you define it, I think is sincere, and it's powerful, and it's palpable as you walk through the halls. It is, it's something we think a lot about. Cultural competency for us is one of the 7 core skills that we expect to be teaching in everything we do. You can go into an Algebra 1 class and ask the teacher, how are you teaching cultural competency in here? And he or she's going to have an answer for you. And I think that's a really important piece. Again, private schools, this is a challenge for all of us to make our communities as welcoming and as diverse as is humanly possible, because that's the world our kids are going to graduate into, and we have to prepare them for it. And I think I'm just so impressed with the work that the folks on campus do and the way in which it's embraced by the entire school community. It is, I'm proud of it, candidly. Do your kids like the food?
Absolutely. They really do, particularly my daughter. My son, he's just an animal, so I don't think it matters what you put in front of him. But my daughter absolutely thinks it's terrific. And she actually eats things that aren't white in color. I mean, so she, it's good.
It's delicious. My kids enjoy it.
The ice cream machine's a real hit too for our son.
Yeah.
We're rolling with the other kids.
It's funny, for our middle school applicants, they come and spend a full day. And so they go to classes and they go to lunch and they do the whole thing. And I typically will meet them at the end of the day. And, my standard first question to all of them is, hey, how was your day? And they'll, oh, it was great, great, great. What's your favorite part? Lunch. I'm like, really? You went to cool math classes and you did science experiments, and it's the ice cream machine. And the middle school kids get in early, so the cookies are fresher when they get there. And that's always a big hit too. How are students integrated who maybe aren't as interested in sports? We're going to leave Brendan out of this one. I know where his passions are.
Although I forget, what it's called, but you have to have so many points.
Mhm.
And so I think you need 5, but you easily probably get more. So I think he gets 2 for hockey and 2 for lacrosse. And then he needed
Okay.
an arts point as well. So he actually is in a club called the Dead Poets Society. And we've seen videos of him up reading poetry, and
Shocking.
yeah, it is kind of shocking, but he seems he loves it actually. And he write poems on his phone. And so I think we answered a little bit.
No, I actually love hearing that.
I think the club fair that Hun does is fantastic. It's almost like a college, it's kind of early in the school year. And there are certain rules and regulations as to how you can make a club and create a club, but everyone has the opportunity to start a club, to look for, so there's so much, and I know we've said this, multiple times, but there really is just so much opportunity and so many things. Someone said it's like a buffet, and you almost have to like rein it in and try not to do everything. So, my son was a sports kid, but he was a hockey player, but he did, he joined the club that, if someone on the hockey team was joining something like a poetry club, he'd be like, all right, so he'd do that kind of thing. Whereas my daughter, she's one of like your daughters, Jennifer, where she's just interested in a little bit of everything. So I think it, I know we sound like a broken record, but it's just, Hun makes it so easy because there's so much available, and there's always someone that wants to do something. My kids always said, because I'm the mom that's always like, was everyone nice today? No one, no one picks on anyone, no one sat alone at lunch. And my kids are like, oh my God, Mom, that doesn't really happen. And that doesn't happen at Han. And everybody has a place to be and someone to be with, and a group and an activity. And it's just, there's just something for everybody.
That's awesome. I'm conscious of the time, and I always try to keep these to an hour. I suspect we could do this for a long time, but I want to start to wrap up. I did skip some of the questions in the Q&A because they were kind of more specific about admissions process stuff, and we can take care of that offline anytime. Just shoot me an email, call my office. We're as I said in the beginning, we're really, we want to spend our day talking to families. We want to spend our day talking to kids. And so don't hesitate. There are no dumb little questions. As I said, we appreciate that change in schools is a scary thing to do for parents and for kids, and want to do everything we can to make you as comfortable with this change or the possibility of this change as we possibly can. It is, as I hope you got a sense for tonight, Hun's a pretty authentic place. These parents can attest, I didn't really give them a whole lot of prep for tonight. I kind of just said, hey, will you come on a webinar with me and just answer some questions and talk a little bit about your experience? And, it was thrilling for me to have everybody go, yeah, sure, I'm in. And no one came back with sort of specific questions about, what should I say or what should I do? We just sort of all agreed to just be ourselves and talk about the school and our own experiences. And I think that is one of the big differentiators for Hun, that authenticity of the community, the sort of, there's a down-to-earth feel to the place that I think is very, very unique in the independent school world. And, our ability to keep kids happy and having fun while they're doing really, really challenging work at the same time, I think is the gift we've got to give to families and to kids. And so it's we're having fun at the same time. So to my panelists, thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate you doing this tonight. It was awesome. We need to do more of these given the interest. And so I'll come knocking again if you don't mind. Any parting comments?
Just that I just noticed in the chat that the question about the weather came from Mexico. It is much nicer in Mexico than it is here, but it is nice here. We have 4 full seasons, so very hot in the summer, very cold in the winter.
Good call.
I'll just add in a little levity. There's a club that my son is, I believe, the president in this year. It's called the Chocolate Milk Club. That is a giant waste of time, and I need to talk to him about that. But anyway, it's really good to see all the Hun parents and Steve, feel free to give out my email to anybody that has additional
Yeah,
questions.
same.
And we
Yes,
look
same.
forward to seeing a lot of these parents, even though I can't see any of them. Hopefully we see them on the Hun campus next year.
All right, that's a perfect wrap up. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Let us know if there's anything we can do to be helpful. And to you guys, thanks so much. And we will be in touch.
Thank
Take
you for
care.
having us.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.